quite some name calling from one of Fox News hosts. It was hard to listen to what he was saying with all the screeching.
Marjorie Taylor Greene strikes again. Hello, everybody. David Schuster here. The battles with Iran may or may not be over, but the MAGA civil war is intensifying, and House Republican Marjorie Taylor Greene is melting down. Conservative media host Mark Levin, who supports the strikes on Iran, is calling Greene dumb and a nitwit. MTG, who opposes the U.S. action against Iran, says Levin makes her nauseous.
So it absolutely makes me sick. It makes me want to throw up in my mouth that he's one of the voices that is constantly texting and calling President Trump's phone and showing up at the White House demanding for America to go to every single foreign war on behalf of Israel. You know, I'm really sick and disgusted at that. And it's people like him and Lindsey Graham and all these other people that never really supported Trump in the beginning. People like me, regular people like me, donated to President Trump. We showed up at his rallies. We voted for him. We truly supported him. I've supported him the entire time. Mark Levin was a never Trumper, compared President Trump, claimed that he was the same as Code Pink, all of this horrible attacks on President Trump. And he only supports him now because he couldn't beat him, because people like me supported President Trump and got him elected.
If you think Greene is jealous of Mark Levin's Trump White House access, you are onto something. President Trump placed Levin on the administration's Homeland Security Council, where he gets to advise Trump on all sorts of security issues. Marjorie Taylor Greene, who wanted to be considered as Trump's running mate in 2024 and was never even asked for vetting documents, then wanted to be in Trump's cabinet and was rejected, was given a special House subcommittee chairmanship on DOGE. But Elon Musk largely ignored MTG and the committee, and Greene seems to have lingering resentment at Donald Trump.
And Steve, I've spent 5 years, I've spent millions of dollars, millions of my own money, traveling this entire country campaigning for President Trump, defending him when everyone abandoned him after January 6th. And I would say I represent MAGA far more than Mark Levin or any of these other neocon suck-ups ever will and ever do, because MAGA is not for foreign wars. We are not for regime change, and we are for America first. That's not isolationism.
Recently on X, Marjorie Taylor Greene wrote, "I don't know anyone in America who's been the victim of a crime or killed by Iran." Mark Levin responded with, "Marjorie Taylor Greene, shameless nitwit. She doesn't know anyone in America who's been a victim of a crime or killed by Iran? You mean the thousands of Americans, especially military personnel, killed and maimed by the Iranian terrorist regime? On top of funding terror attacks around the globe, Iran, during the Iraq War, supplied Iraqi insurgents with mines that killed countless U.S. troops." On Fox News, Levin celebrated the U.S. attack on Iran.
America, don't you feel relief? Of course you feel relief. Because these Islamo-Nazis were building nuclear weapons to attack us, too, with intercontinental ballistic missiles. Guess what? You can go to bed peacefully tonight. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Not because of Obama, not because of Biden, not because of the Democrats, not because of some Republicans, because of Donald Trump.
Marjorie Taylor Greene has said repeatedly that she has no love for the Iranian regime, but she maintains that the U.S. action against Iran flatly contradicts Donald Trump's campaign promises not to start any new wars and goes against the America First policy that Trump has repeatedly espoused in his second White House term.
Want to know what I have that Mark Levin doesn't have? I have a voting card, Steve. I have a voting card because I have a district that believes in the greatness of America, that believes in America First policies, and desperately wants President Trump, his administration, and the Republican-controlled House and Senate to enact and support this. And I tell you what, 6 months in, Steve, and here we are, turning back on the campaign promises, and we bombed Iran on behalf of Israel. Yes, it was on behalf of Israel. We're entering a nuclear war, the World War III, because the entire world is going to erupt. And you want to know the people that are cheering it on right now? Their tune is going to drastically change the minute we start seeing flag-draped coffins on the nightly news, on Fox News that brainwashes all the baby boomers, and on CNN that brainwashes all the Democrat baby boomers. And that is exactly how this is going to go down.
Oops! As of this video, Israel and Iran have agreed to a ceasefire. The U.S. airstrikes have not triggered World War III, and the world is not headed towards a nuclear war. In other words, Marjorie Taylor Greene has been proven once again to be an idiot. Now, to be fair, the situation in the Middle East could deteriorate again. Also, there are intelligence authorities in Israel and the United States who believe that Iran was able to move its enriched uranium before the U.S. airstrikes and that Iran may resume its march towards a nuclear weapon, although now with even more urgency. But by most accounts, the Israeli war on Iran and the recent U.S. attacks on Iranian nuclear facilities have set back the Iranian nuclear program by at least a few months. The policy victory for Mark Levin and other neoconservatives may cause MTG to keep melting down and throwing up in her mouth, as Greene said. But the smiles are wide at the Trump White House and among advisors like Mark Levin. Donald Trump's attacks on Iran did not get any U.S. service members killed. The U.S. bombers and refueling tankers were unscathed, and regional tensions in the Middle East are now ratcheting down. It's a triumph for Mark Levin and other interventionists, and it's a brutal and humiliating MAGA Civil War loss for Marjorie Taylor Greene. I'm David Schuster. Thanks for joining us.